Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay Kent. I'm a documentary filmmaker and I've been a part of the Seeds community for about 6 months now. I've been blown away by what has been and continues to be created here, and like a lot of you, I'm sure I talk about Seeds within my community and outside of my circles. And something that I've noticed, that I bet a lot of you have noticed as well, is that the concept of a paradigm shift of this magnitude is kind of hard for some folks to swallow. Wow, that sounds like a dream, like it's too good to be true and that it probably won't ever happen. Or in this day and age, with everything that we have going on in the direction that we are, headed, no chance. So I've been thinking a lot about how we can move from a narrative focusing on what's wrong to focusing on what we can create. I know Reiki has talked about this as well, and I think it's absolutely crucial. Clearly it will take an in tandem shift in consciousness, parallel to the shift in our economic and social structures, to actually make the change that we're looking for. People have to believe that it's possible. So how do we do that? How do we make people aware that we can build a new system of governance that works for the people, for the planet, and dismantles a lot of the old paradigm that we've been living in for decades, or hundreds, if not thousands of years, right? And of course the answer is, we don't. We can't. We can't make anyone aware or do or think anything. All you can do is your work, wading through your own inner BS and limiting beliefs in order to fully step into your own truth, your own highest expression, so that we can be a beacon of what is possible and not what has been. Then those who are ready to dive further into themselves to uncover their own truth will show up and ask questions. So this is what I wanted to briefly chat about in this video, just to share a little bit about my experience and the journey that brought me here, in the hopes that it may resonate with some of you, and then to also hopefully begin a larger conversation with all of you to celebrate the infinite ways that we experience as human beings, paths to self-realization and to hopefully a better world. Then I'd like to touch briefly on the story that we're building, how that story can affect our community and beyond, and then potential long-term goals for building the story together. So a bit about me. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and I was a direct product of my upbringing and the programming therein for most of my life. It wasn't until 2013, when I quit my job in Beverly Hills and moved to Bangkok, that things started to really shift for me. My sister brought me a book called Deep Meditation. After the first week, like literally 7 days, I noticed that standing in line or waiting in traffic was a lot easier. I was much more present. I didn't even actually really know what presence was until then. When I was 30, and I kept it up. And then in 2014, after dealing with about 10 years of really chronic neck and back pain, I took a weekend course in energy healing out of sheer desperation. Reiki is one tool and type of energetic healing, but there's actually a lot of different modalities. It's kind of like you can make it up as well. It's something that you can just bring in and channel, which I learned from this class. This workshop had a really profound effect on me. I learned that I was highly empathic and sensitive and unconsciously taking on other people's energy. I learned that my words and my thoughts carry a vibration that are affecting myself and my reality and others every day. And through that awareness, I gradually began to pick up more and more about myself and how I was being triggered and co-creating this pain, and it led me to being virtually pain-free in just a few months. It was amazing. About a year after that, I had my first ceremonies with plant medicine, and that gradually turned me from a paranoiac to a pronoiac, from thinking about every worst case scenario to truly believing that the universe is conspiring in my favor, which made everything feel like it was happening for me. Even the things that I would categorize as negative were an experience in growth. And so that level of freedom over how I reacted to everything that happened, and treating everything, even the painful things, as lessons, brought me so much peace and so much inner growth that it can't be overstated. The books that I read during this time that I would highly recommend to anyone are the Celestine Prophecy, the Untethered Soul, The Power of Now, The Seed of the Soul, and The Quest of Rose, which is the first book in a trilogy that was recently recommended on Discord by Reiki, is a really awesome read. I highly recommend that as well. All of this has led me to experience more compassion and empathy for others, for their own trip, for their own journey. These experiences also helped me to piece together how important storytelling is in terms of expanding our consciousness on a human level, through information, through myth, through like the visceral emotional experience of what we see and hear. It has a tremendous impact on what we believe to be possible. A few years ago, I made a documentary film called Going Further about the history of America's counterculture, the seeds that were planted in the 1960s, and how far they've evolved today, and where we could be headed from here as a society.
What's the definition of enlightenment? The ability to lighten up.
This project really solidified for me a big part of my purpose here in this lifetime. It helped me realize that I am a powerful storyteller and that I can assist in the evolution of our collective consciousness by collaborating through story. I'm happy to share a link with anyone if you'd like to see it. It's currently being shopped with some streamers, so it's not technically available yet, but let me know. I'm happy to share it. And this brings me to our story here in the Seeds community. I'm really interested in helping to translate what we're doing here in a deeply resonating, human-focused way, and potentially developing a concept for a long game narrative arc that not only highlights the work and the growth within Seeds, but encourages more types of individuals from different cultures, backgrounds, and beliefs, so that we can widen the net in this conversation and how we co-create a better world. So as you've probably guessed from what you've seen of the documentary I made, we traveled around the country on this bus. We went to festivals and talked to a lot of people. So witnessing these little microcosms of our society in these festivals, I was, for the first time, exposed to hope for where we are as a society, like what we can create, like literally create together. And that type of energy, I think we can carry through into what we're doing here at Seeds, and that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about lyceums. Lyceums were a very popular form of adult education that spread around the US between the 1830s and the Civil War. Speakers gave lectures on a variety of topics, from like history to literature to scientific theories. There were concerts and plays. Lyceums often fostered social reform movements such as abolitionism or temperance. Even Abraham Lincoln gave a speech at a lyceum in Springfield, Massachusetts when he was only 28 years old. With the fight for the narrative affecting how the world receives and interprets information, we need civil discourse, sharing opposing perspectives in a respectful and compassionate way. We need to encourage stepping away from our own echo chambers and hearing opposing perspectives with open hearts and minds. So what if we created the lyceums of the 21st century? What would that look like? Sharing the Seeds platform and educating people on what it is and how to use it, sharing topical discoveries in the advancement of holistic medicine, permaculture, mindfulness, and then as part of that, we can encourage people to answer the question, what are you hoping for? What kind of world do you want to live in? A lot of people may not have even thought about that. Like, if anything is possible, what do you see? What would you like to see? And encouraging a open conversation on this. We don't have to agree, but we can come together and share our stories and hold compassion for our differences. And as mentioned, this is to encourage an open conversation. I want to hear from you. How did you become a part of Seeds? What do you think is important for us to be sharing about our journey right now? And what parts of our story in the Seeds community can we be putting out there to encourage more people to join this room? Thank you all for watching.